Do you have a stupid joke about the Energy Nerd Show?
Why aren't there any bunnies in the Energy Nerd Show?
Why not?
I don't have a joke. They would just hop away.
Oh, you had me. I was waiting for the punchline.
But seriously, there are no bunnies in this show, right? At least not so far.
It'd be better if we had bunnies.
That's okay.
But we don't have
The Energizer Bunny.
Ooh, batteries.
Batteries.
I have a feeling we can make him say duck.
Right, the duck curve.
Hey, Jeannie, who's our guest today?
Our guest this morning is Steve Letendre, who is a principal at Synapse.
Oh, cool. Steve, there's a graph floating beside your left ear.
Yes. So this is, a very simple kind of representation of the opportunity that electric vehicles, as they become more abundant on our roads, as more and more people shift from regular vehicles to electric vehicles. This is really just a simple chart to kind of show what the opportunity is for a large volume of electric vehicles connected to the grid to address some of the big challenges moving from our standard kind of fossil fuel based grid to a more renewable based grid. So this chart, on the x-axis has the time of day, 1 through 24, and then on the y-axis it has the demand for electricity in megawatts. And you see, I believe it's the dotted line is demand for energy over the day, and it's representative of a grid that has a high penetration of solar. And so we're seeing this in California and Hawaii and other places where there's been a tremendous amount of solar installed on the grid, and it's really affecting the load shape. And so the utilities are struggling to kind of meet this, what they call the duck curve, where the sun shines and all of a sudden the demand for energy from traditional fossil fuel resources declines, and then it kind of creates this duck belly. And then in the afternoon, as the sun is setting, then that solar energy goes away, and then the grid needs to, again, provide that power from other kind of traditional sources of generation.
For this illustrative system that we have it peaking at about 8 p.m. after dinner, and we have one of the big system challenges is that ramp between like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, cranking right up to 8, where the loads are changing really fast.
Yeah, exactly. So as the integration of large amounts of solar on the grid really make those ramping events more challenging for utilities to kind of manage. So then that kind of yellowish line shows an opportunity for electric vehicles to play a role in trying to address those technical challenges that grid operators face. Using electric vehicles, it's a very unique kind of load, can kind of turn on and off the charging of vehicles depending on the grid conditions, so long as the vehicle is charged when the consumer needs to take the trip back home or the trip in the morning to the office. This really shows the opportunity to use electric vehicles, managing the timing and the rate of charging to help really address one of the big technical challenges that grid operators across the country are trying to figure out. How do we run these grids with high levels of renewables, in this case solar energy, addressing that duck curve? No bunnies, but ducks.
This is cool. The yellow line really is just mostly about when people charge their electric vehicles. That's the difference. Is there another opportunity for vehicle to grid? Or is that just, are we not there yet?
That's a great question. And I was kind of looking around to find a chart that might also illustrate kind of the vehicle to grid opportunity. And so there's this kind of broad discussion out there. It's called grid integrated vehicles. And so there's information that's being exchanged between the vehicles and the charging and the grid. And so there's kind of a spectrum of how that can happen. The very far end of the spectrum is really just what we call time of use rates, where the price of electricity varies by hour of the day. And the idea there would be that you have price signals which say, hold off to charge your vehicle till like late in the evening when the price to charge those vehicles is very low and you'll save money. So that's the one end of grid interactive vehicles. And then the next step would be managed charging. And that's what this chart is demonstrating, where actually there's a utility or some sort of third-party ESCO, which is actually controlling the timing and level of charging. And so in that case, the utility is looking at the conditions on the grid, and they're looking at the amount of vehicles that they have that are ready to be charged, and they can manage that timing of charging in response to conditions on the grid. And then on the other side of the spectrum is the vehicle to grid opportunity. And this is an area that I've been working in for many years. And so this is where not only are you managing the charging of the vehicles, but you're also drawing energy from the vehicles. So you're actually delivering power from the stored energy in the batteries on the cars and using that energy to provide additional grid flexibility and grid services. And so it's really that spectrum of time of use all the way through managed charging and vehicle to grid. And vehicle to grid really provides the most exciting opportunities and benefits, I think, to the grid in terms of addressing the variable production of energy from wind and solar generation.
How would that last example work if, Jeannie wants to get in her Tesla and go somewhere, but meanwhile Eversource has drained the battery in order to assist with these grid loads?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. And over the years, we've gotten that question quite a bit. There would certainly be, a consumer interface. And so this would allow you to get out your phone and have an app that would say, hey, I need at least 50% rate of charge by, 5 p.m. this afternoon. And so the utility or who's ever, managing the charging or discharging of the vehicle would have to make sure that they're operating within the parameters that the consumer sets. So there's think of it like any kind of software app that you would have on your phone that would allow you to kind of set parameters, and then the utility would have to abide by those.
I'm guessing the reasons that a utility would be interested in doing the vehicle to grid program would be economic, or there are physical distribution constraints and things like that. In your experience, have you seen anyone using vehicle to grid flow for resilience, where they might have a microgrid or something?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's definitely an exciting opportunity for vehicle to grid. And you think of it, as the most basic level in your home, right? If you've got an EV in your garage and the power goes out, there's a lot of energy in an electric vehicle, 20, 30, 50 kilowatt hours. That would be able to power a home for a week or more. And in fact, there's some stories that came out of California during the fires where some people kind of hacked their EVs and they were able to keep their homes running, their refrigerators operating, their AC operating perhaps during larger grid outages. There was a vehicle to grid demonstration on an Army base out in California where they did demonstrate the capability of EVs providing kind of island power to campus when the greater grid has been down. So that's a real exciting opportunity. It really provides that resilience benefit that hard to quantify, but we know it's there for sure.
On our phones, we have the Tesla app, we have the ChargePoint charging station app, we have the Nest thermostat, and we have the Sense
home energy monitor.
Home energy, and none of them talk to each other or to the electric meter, or it's kind of infuriating.
I've heard that concern before. There's all this great technology out there, but it's not all kind of coordinated and syncing into kind of a uniform platform. And so I know, there are some technology companies that are trying to solve that. In the auto industry, in the charging industry, there's really been a drive towards kind of open source kind of protocols so that people can just kind of plug and play. But I know that is a real challenge. That requires collaboration across different industries. When I first started in this working in the space, like utilities would never talk to auto manufacturers. There was two separate industries and they shall never meet. But over the past decade, we're now seeing collaboration between electric utilities and auto companies to try to solve some of those integration challenges, which is exciting, which is really important.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us today. It's good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for the opportunity.
We only got Steve to say duck one time.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. This is Energy Nerd Show and Tell.
It's the show that we want to watch, so we're thinking maybe some of you energy nerds want to watch it too. If you do, then tell your friends and subscribe right around here. Click there.
And check
or there or over here.
Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and where else?
And the Energy Nerd website at energynerdshow.com. You can always go there. And if you want to be a guest, you can volunteer to be a guest. We love to have guests. In fact, that's kind of what the show is all about.
Absolutely.